All right, Marcus. My name's Nick, by the way.
Nick, nice to meet you.
Are you? I haven't seen you in the. Are you in the computer science department?
Yeah, I work for the Advanced Robotics Research Lab in the Computer and Science building. So.
Okay, because I haven't seen you around. I'm a grad. I'm a grad student.
Oh yeah, I just got started this semester. So.
Did you?
Yeah.
What year are you in?
So I am currently a PhD direct. This is my first year.
Oh, cool. All right. Well, you're ahead of me.
You too.
I'm taking my first AI class right now, and there's a whole lot of math and not much AI in it.
Uh,
you know.
yeah.
Yeah, so the way this works is you have a claim, I'll
Mhm.
ask you some questions about it and how you reason about it and how you came to those reasons.
Okay.
So, if you could tell me the claim, what you think something you think is true in a sort of a way saying that such and such is true, or I
Yeah.
believe that this is the case.
Got it.
Right?
So my claim is that artificial intelligence is benefiting humanity.
It has benefited?
It's currently and has been benefiting humanity in a positive manner.
Okay. Alright. So would you mind defining AI for me?
So artificial intelligence is more or less when the computer is able to act on its own without any human intervention. For example, machine learning, deep learning, neural networks, the likes, basically.
Okay, what do you mean by acting on its own?
Acting on its own as in it makes the decision based on the given input without any human input for its given direction when it makes the actual decision in real time. So this would include, well, obviously this would include when it's actually going ahead and evaluating input data. This would not include a set where it's basically more or less being trained, basically. So that would be given the actual data set to the artificial intelligence model to actually go ahead and learn how to actually go ahead and perform the tasks. But generally speaking, artificial intelligence, when you go ahead and say learn it on its own without any sort of, well, go ahead and be able to perform tasks on its own, it just means more or less it's able to make its own decisions without the human input being able to intervene during
Without a
the actual.
programmer actually writing up the code. Well,
Correct.
it's sort of declarative, but all right. So, I get what I think I get what you mean. AI is huge everywhere nowadays.
Mhm,
If I could get, so you believe AI has benefited humanity?
mhm.
What's if on a scale from 0 to 100, how confident do you think you are? So,
I think I am fairly 90 to 95% accurate with the actual statement. There are obviously at least some downsides in regards to at least recent implementations of artificial intelligence, though that's not on the actual fundamentals of artificial intelligence. It's more so the inappropriate slash misappropriation of utilization of artificial intelligence. For example, disenfranchising artists with generative AI, for example,
mhm.
and that sort, basically.
Okay. Um, so you think would you say that's why you're not at 100%?
That's why I'm not at 100%. I do feel like, at least from the evidence that I've looked into and the actual current implementations for a vast majority of the use cases for artificial intelligence in the modern sense, I would say 90 to 95% of the actual use cases are beneficial for humanity, and I feel like that's where the actual confidence ranking is at the moment.
How would you know if it was beneficial or not?
Um, if you were to say before we actually utilize artificial intelligence for a lot of our modern tasks that we were not uh, doing performative, optimally performative slash we weren't at least be able to be at least fully trying to think of the actual terminology here, fully a something like actualization level when it came to before they have the implementation of artificial intelligence. For example, right now I'm working again. I mentioned this to you before, but I'm working with the Advanced Robotics Research Lab. We are working on robotics, which tangentially a little bit more related with artificial intelligence here, but more so utilizing artificial intelligence for at least post disaster relief, basically. So be able to search and rescue survivors of natural disasters. For instance, the hurricane that happened recently in Florida.
Yeah.
That would be obviously a good humanitarian use case.
So making robots that can go around and
That can
help
think
out?
yes, that can think on their own and are able to survey the actual current landscape post disaster and be able to rescue any victims of the actual disaster, more or less.
Okay. That is awesome stuff. I could talk about
Okay.
it. I would love it. But like, I don't think I got like, how would you find out that it's actually benefiting? Like you said, I didn't quite get it.
Okay,
Yeah.
that's fine. Just in regards to at least how I know,
Yeah,
basically.
how would you find out?
Yeah, so if I were to see the actual everyday use case for artificial intelligence, for instance, helping with search algorithm optimization. So, for instance, if I, were to use like Google on a daily basis and, comparing before it utilized artificial intelligence for search optimizations and afterwards, before they went ahead and fully implemented several years back. It was an alright sort of implementation of actual search algorithms, more or less. But afterwards, when they actually go ahead and implement the actual full search algorithm methods with artificial intelligence, from my own experience, at the very least, the search results were a lot more related to what I was searching for. They were a lot more helpful. And generally, I felt like the day-to-day use cases for artificial intelligence from what I've used actually benefit fully from improving my own life experiences. Another example would be ChatGPT, which I'm aware large language models on their own. They have varied problems that do need more research into in regards to resolving them. Stuff like hallucinations that would be more so patched out with implementations of ChatGPT 01, where it actually goes ahead and thinks before it actually gives you the actual right answer. More or less, the actual data set, again, that's the ethical issue that I think definitely needs to be touched upon, especially when you use them for commercial purposes. And just, again, myriad problems in regards to that, but at the same time, my use cases for ChatGPT, for example, when I actually go ahead and use it, let's say to, if I have an issue with my actual code base. In the past, I used to go ahead and look up online if it's a very specific issue that no one has ever encountered. It would basically be a brick wall towards any sort of like progression that I would make. Basically, it would take like hours, if not days, to like debug if I couldn't find it from like a simple Google search on Stack Overflow, GitHub, etc. But after like the launch of ChatGPT, even in its early stages, it was able to at least help me at least both provide boilerplate code to be able to help out like certain projects, and if I found like errors in regards to what I was experiencing, a vast majority of the time it actually does help in the actual in those cases, basically, whether it be some
Well,
another
what
implementation.
I'm hearing is that, like, in your experience, the way that you've used it,
Yes.
you found it quite helpful.
Yes.
Okay. What is the single biggest downside of AI?
I think it's what I mentioned before with some of the use cases that would disenfranchise artists and various people of the sorts. Basically, I feel like there is definitely ethical issues to be discussed and maybe taken action upon. For instance, again, turning the ground again, the disenfranchisement artists. I have friends who are artists themselves. They say that generative AI, in regards to their field, has been a detriment in regards to finding jobs for a lot of people with doing concept art and the sorts. So I feel like if there were at least both code invitations to help out artists and maybe even on a more broad legal perspective at the very least in
Yeah.
regards to um, managing commercial uses of artificial intelligence, then there's definitely some at least better safeguards and at least better ethical bounds for artificial intelligence, more or less.
Yeah. So it puts a fair number of people out of work, right? So that's
Correct.
probably the biggest one.
Correct. The disenfranchisement of a lot of people in the creative industry.
Okay. How would you find out if um, that problem was larger than the benefits, and problems like that were larger than the benefits? How would you find out?
I think there are various ways to actually find out. Obviously, user surveys, a lot of the actual these on these online perspectives from various individuals who were affected by the disenfranchisement of artists from generative AI. And generally just trying to be able to determine the actual, at least from a solid logical perspective that's objective. I feel like there could be a at least meta research survey onto various perspectives with artificial intelligence from both the
Yeah.
from the layman's terms and within the
Okay.
research
So
academic
like
field.
we would look at survey results and like data, right?
Yes.
Have you seen any of that data? Any big scale stuff?
Um, if if we're talking about like research papers, it's been definitely on the back burner for at least looking into those research analysis at least deeply. I've seen some at least headlines in regards to at least news outlets that have at least highlighted a lot of the actual issues brought on before. So there's at least some supporting evidence that there is some issues with artificial intelligence, but at the same time, if you were to say if it was a bigger, if the actual issues were bigger than the benefits, I think in regards to that at the very least, I would have to at least personally disagree on the standard that any sort of like tool in regards to whether it be artificial intelligence or any sort of like other physical tools
Yeah.
at least have some uh, benefit that would outweigh the actual drawbacks, basically.
Okay. So say, what sort of survey data would you need to see to change your confidence that AI is beneficial?
I think definitely from academic standards, definitely academic papers, conference papers,
Okay.
the bunch of likes basically that are related to those fields. I think definitely look into those surveys as well. Look into the reasons why people would think artificial intelligence would be detrimental more than beneficial to humanity as a whole. I think be able to at least discern those reasons from a logical perspective, be able to at least draw up some actual ethical boundaries from those concerns would be more or less a more beneficial and more productive outlook on
Yeah.
improving AI
So
as a whole.
you need to see some sort of a you need to see some sort of papers on that would adjust your confidence like a significant amount. Like say there was a big one that came out saying that like it's put so many people out of work and that hallucinations are a big problem. And they
Yeah,
just like went down the list and they said we surveyed people and they generally said their lives and their internet usage and all like they're everywhere where they interact with AI just made things worse.
yeah,
You
and
would,
I've, at least from my own perspective, at the very least, confidence in the actual statements and whatnot. Um, They are very flexible in regards to like how they dynamically change. So if I actually go ahead and read those papers and say, hey, these are the actual concerns, yes, it would go down. But I think over time, once we actually go ahead and implement those boundaries and ethical standards on a solid basis for commercial usages of artificial intelligence, my confidence is in the statement for artificial intelligence being beneficial
Yeah,
for humanity would
it would go
rise again.
back up.
Yes.
How much do you think it would go down if you saw a paper like I was describing?
I would say if we're putting an actual solid number on it, 30, 35-ish percent basically. So down from 90 to 95 down to 60 to 65.
Do you think there's any flaws in um, relying on research papers for this sort of thing?
I do think there are obviously flaws with anything at the very least. They could be utilized in any sort of, with actual participants. They could be using biased participants. They could be utilized in just a myriad of just issues that would be present with academic works. Even if, let's say, the actual, if it was peer reviewed, basically, even in regards to those at the very least, there are still flaws that you could probably pinpoint and say, hey, these are some of the flaws that we have, and maybe another paper that would basically amend and have solutions to those issues, maybe that could back up the actual paper more.
How
I'd
would
say.
you find out if the papers were deceiving you?
I think I would look into at least some communities that are revolving or they center around artificial intelligence within a academic context, basically, or at least the actual field of the study that the papers were based on, more or less. So anything from humanitarian to more or less
I'm
general philosophies.
I didn't quite catch that. Like,
Okay.
how would you find out if they were like, if they're deceptive? I didn't quite get that.
Okay, if they were actually deceptive.
Or, yeah,
Yeah, so it would more or less just be down to what the overall community center around that field of study would take in, basically based on the paper, whether or not they would take it in as a solid review of the actual studies themselves, or if there's any flaws within the actual research itself. I would basically lean into other peers to get a better perspective on the paper,
yeah.
basically.
So you rely on the peer review process, a consensus of experts.
Yes.
How would you know if they're like not in an ivory tower? Like what method would you use to find out that like you guys are like all like we're just totally off base here, like out of touch with the real world? How would you find that out?
Right. Yeah, I think that is a definitely good issue to at least address. Basically, there are at least some other at least reviews with at least from a mainstream layman's sort of perspective on the actual issues. Basically, if you could actually go ahead and balance out maybe the actual reviews from the academic community versus the layman's, let's say, internet subculture community, basically, which is why I usually label a lot of the actual online communities, basically. That's sort of actual balance look into how they actually view the research per se. So.
All right, I'm gonna go back. If you had to name your single best reason, because there's a lot of reasons you're giving, but I want to kind of try and focus on one. Um, Single best reason why you think AI is benefiting people.
Yes. The reason is that more or less, it has made a lot of our workflows, a lot of the day-to-day tasks that we do, a lot more convenient, a lot more easy overall. We can do a lot more with the artificial intelligence, more or less, and I feel like that has at least pushed us towards at least making be able to
Yeah.
innovate on more ideals, be able to
So like when you say we, do you mean like
humanity,
okay,
humanity as a
well,
whole.
okay. So, well, you're sort of saying that, like, what I hear is that, like, you're saying it's benefited,
Yes.
and the reason you know that, the best reason why you know it's benefited is because it's making people more efficient and making workflows better and whatnot. Is that a fair summary?
I would say that is a fair summary of the points at the very least.
Okay. Um, well, like sort of the question I was asking is like how you would know, and like
Got
you
it.
sort of said that I know because it's doing this thing. You're sort of like saying like kind of like sort of like there's like a circularness there. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, I get what you're saying.
Um, 'Cause yeah, like what I'm trying to
This,
get at is like
yeah.
how to find out.
Yeah, and at least from other peers of mine, they have also benefited from utilization of artificial intelligence as well through their own workflows. So,
So like, would you say biggest one is personal experience and what you see?
at least from my own stance, yes, a lot of it would be personal experience.
Okay.
Um, Obviously, there are flaws with personal experience arguments as well. They could not be representative of the whole. I do at least get that
Mm-hmm.
flaw. Though at the very least, I do at least try to look into the workflows of many other people outside of my own academic work. So, for instance, writers or at least
Yeah.
other creatives as well that have utilized artificial intelligence. Doesn't have to be generative. Just has to be artificial intelligence as a general ideal, basically, or at least a general concept. Uh, they have actually benefited from those sort of workflows, and it has made their work progress overall better and a lot more faster, a lot more efficient. So I do at least try to reach out to many individuals from many life
Yeah.
experiences and
So
careers as well.
broad, try and get a broad perspective. Um,
Yes.
okay. I have a friend of mine online.
Hmm.
He works with AI all the time,
Hmm.
and he is completely convinced that it is a complete detriment. He's saying to me that you know, all of my everything I'm doing has gotten less efficient. I'm reading more things, getting less done in more time, and everyone that he talks to says that they're feeling very similar things. It's almost like the opposite, like opinion of like everything you
Yeah.
said, and like I don't really know what to think. How would I find out if you're right or he's right?
Yeah, I mean, it's more or less a free market of opinions in that case, or at least free market of ideals in that case, at the very least. I think maybe discussing the actual ideals, or at least perspectives, and maybe some of the actual research that we looked into would be at least a good start. Maybe
Mhm.
going over like how can we maybe at least have a better overall sort of use case for artificial intelligence in these specific cases as well. I do at least perceive that as a good starting point.
Yeah, but how would I like? How would I know if one person's saying it's great, another person because of what his personal experience is, another guy
Right,
says it's terrible? Like, how do I know who to believe?
right. And again, the whole free market of ideals perspective is that the person who is able to deliver their own ideals and perspectives in a concise and at least consistent and more narrative
Yeah, the
driven.
best ideas rise to the
Yes,
top.
basically.
Um, how often is that the case?
Do you want like a number or like?
Just like, um, is it, is it frequently the case that the best ideas don't rise to the top?
I do, at least from my own experiences. Um, Good ideals do tend to rise to the top. Not all the time, but I do feel like at least from again personal experience and at least from looking to how others have presented their ideals. Um, Good ideals tend to rise to the top, though at the same time there's also the trend of some not good ideals through at least some more deceptive
You think it's more often
presentation.
than not the better ideals
Yes,
rise to the top? How often do you think best ideas just like they don't, like they remain small subcultures?
I think in that term at the very least, when good ideals don't rise to the top, it's often because the actual presenter is not at least very good with presenting the actual ideal. They're not good with present a narrative to their ideal, as in like they're not good with be able to to construct actual logical arguments,
Arguments and
basically.
whatnot. Yeah, but how often do you think it's a lot? Do you think it's like 1% of the time that um
Um, I think in regards to if you want a percentage of good ideals right in the top, 70 to 80% of the time, I feel like.
okay. Um so 70%. All right, so I would find out if AI was detrimental
Mhm.
based on the market, free market of ideas, and because it's popular and because usually around so like 70, 80%,
Yeah.
let's just say 80, we'll say 75. Um
Mhm.
I should 75% of the time, best idea rise to the top. Okay, so if I was judging between them, I think it'd be fair I'd be 80% confident that
Yeah. I
something
think
like that.
being 80% confident would be at least a good standard for this.
Okay, let's see, where do I want to go next? If if you found out that, let's say there was a real good study came
Mhm.
on out and it said marketplace of ideas tends to, it's not 80% right, it's actually 20%, right? Usually the best ideas in these open markets, the bad memes just keep winning out for convenience or whatever reasons.
Right.
If you became convinced of that, how do you think it would change your confidence in the idea that AI has benefited humanity?
I think that would be a little bit of a smaller factor. Um, Less of a factor than what was described before as AI being detrimental.
Yeah,
I'd say probably around 5 or 10 to 5 or 10% less probably, just because the actual research would be supporting the fact that good ideals don't always rise to the top with the 20%
right.
remark. Though at the same time, again, very productive method would be more or less just to analyze why that is, maybe incorporate a lot of the actual points that the actual research
Yeah,
draws into your own set of skills.
yeah. And I think you were saying, like, with the research, we don't really have it yet. You said it was on the back burner, right? So, like, the hard data that you'd like, you don't, I think you said you didn't have that. Is that correct?
Not, I can't pull it out at the moment in regards to like getting the actual specific papers. Though that's definitely something that is on the back burner slash that would be at least a good research topic to at least
Yeah.
delve into. I think, yep, generally that would be a good
You,
idea
you,
to
you
look
don't
into.
think it's out there at the moment, though.
I don't, at least from a good meta-analysis point, I don't believe the actual research has been drawn to a good conclusion yet, academically speaking.
Okay. And so your largest reason is based on personal experience. Um, what's your second best reason? Um, well, actually, if your personal experience changed
Right.
this year, and you look back and say, "Wow, I can't believe I was on the AI," like, if it all went bad for like a little while, do you think your opinion would change? Your confidence that in general it's good. It might be bad for me, but it's in general it's still good. Do you think that would happen?
I don't think it would change forever. I would think confidence would go down slightly, though I would still at least have some confidence that would go back up one day, as in
Yeah.
if we were to find out a new benefit for AI, let's say.
In the short term, how much do you think your confidence would go down from 90%, 95 to
Probably around 50-ish%.
50-ish?
So 50
What
to
do you think
55.
the remaining 50 is from?
I think it's from my own past experience with artificial intelligence, just probably a little bit biased on my end from personal background with at least the fundamental ideal of artificial intelligence as a whole tends to be a little bit static in that regard sometimes, most of the time in regards to like the actual fundamental ideals, but in regards to like the rest of the very latest, that would be through my own research field basically.
Okay. I think that's the end of my questions that for now. That was actually kind of cool.
Yeah.
Do you have any questions for me?
um I think, in regards to your own perspective, at the very latest, at least outside of any sort of like philosophical hypotheticals or anything in regards to arguments, basically what we were discussing
You
earlier.
asking like what my opinion is, or
Yeah, what's your own sort of
yeah,
perspective on
yeah. Well,
artificial
yeah, for
intelligence?
like the interview part, like my job's to like question you, but yeah, mine I think it has enormous utility. I
Mhm.
think in general it's probably, well, it actually has been more useful than not, especially just because of search algorithms on things like YouTube, and like I'm sure Google's using it in their ones. I think AI has been in use like, I don't know, like when it started in the 50s, or like
Yeah,
it's been a long time, and recently it's popular. It's a good algorithm like lots of others. I do wonder if I'm not completely sold that AI is advanced as much as everyone's saying.
right.
Like the newest GPT I may have to look into, but um, I do think I think it's a very useful tool. I think there's enormous hype about the subject,
Right.
which is might actually cripple the field for a little bit.
Yeah,
Uh,
I totally get that. At
Um,
least from my own perspective, artificial intelligence in regards to like market and hype, I do feel like it's been a little bit
yeah,
overhyped. I do feel like there are some, at least some reasonable expectations in regards to having excitement for stuff like Transformers, basically.
yeah. All right. I think that's it. Um, any other questions for me?
Uh, Not at the moment.
All right, awesome. How do you think that went?
I think it went pretty decently. I'm still trying to improve my own presentation skills, with conferences and whatnot. So I think it's
Yeah,
definitely a good starting point, just to
yeah,
learn how to present my own ideals through at least having good ethos, basically.
yeah. It's tough.
It's definitely tough.
It's
It's
I'm,
PhD
I'm
work,
not I'm not
honestly.
great at it
So
either. But
yeah,
all right. Have any other things?
Are you still at 95?
yeah, definitely.
All right.
Which reason that you gave is 95% reliable?
Definitely a lot. Some of it with personal experience, some of it with my own. At least it could be at least uh, tangled with personal experience, but at the same time, a lot of it's backed up by years and decades of research. But the actual study of the actual fundamental ideals with artificial intelligence relate with me in regards to my own perspectives on what would benefit humanity.
Right. Your main reason is personal experience. Is personal experience 95% reliable?
I would say, well, again, would say that it's a chunk. It's definitely not, doesn't tell the whole story, but I think it is a good chunk. I would say probably 40, 50% ish. And I feel like the reason why it's only half is because, again, it's my own sort of, at least, again, it could be tied with personal experience, again, decades of research. Uh, but the actual observation and study of the fundamental basis of artificial intelligence matching with the goals of humanity uh, tend to be
Yeah,
aligned with boosting that up to around
yeah.
95.
The theory aligns with the output you're saying
Yeah.
is you're seeing in the real world.
Yes.
All right.
Cool. Thanks again for
All
stopping.
right.
Yep.
That
You're
was
welcome.
awesome. What was the name again?
Marcus.
Marcus. I'll see you around here sometime, I'm sure.
Yep.
What do you think I did?
I'm trying to think of criticisms, and I can't think of many.
hmm
Um, Maybe if there was one, maybe do a time check. Like
I
after
kept
it's been.
I kept wanting to, but like every time, like he kept, I felt like he was about to say the point,
Mhm.
and yeah,
Like
I'm
I
usually,
want to respect your time.
yeah,
Um, do you have time for a couple more questions?
yeah, yeah.
Kind of thing.
I'll do a few more. I'm having fun and it's relaxing. Um, yeah, that one was a little frustrating for me. I don't think I did great. Like I'm not sure how I like would have improved it. Um, I kind of like I was trying to get like how would you find out if you're wrong?
Hmm.
Like and I'm not sure exactly where to go with he said it's my personal experience. I
Yeah.
did like an outsider test, and he sort of like he did the wisdom of crowds approach, and
Yeah.
I don't know. It was a little bit unstructured, and I struggled to yeah.
You made me nervous when you started asking for the second best reason
Yep.
after it had
Yeah,
been
yep.
that long. It's like I'm not sure. I'm not sure exploring a second best reason is
Mhm.
always like necessary, especially
Yep.
when they've already admitted that their main reason.
I was curious if there was another one besides personal experience, and then he said personal experience again, and I said, okay,
Yeah,
it's a
and and he already said that personal experience is flawed,
mhm.
which makes me wonder why he's at 95%
Yep.
using.
I'm not sure how to phrase. Well, he said it's like 80% accurate, and like he's 95% convinced, and like I don't know. Maybe I should have asked if the remaining
Hi there.
15. Hello there.
You interested in doing an interview? The chair's open. We're just kind of chatting.
Yeah.
Oh, so what was the interview about?